And we're live.
Alrighty.
So live in the top right. Oh, Cinder.
What's up, Cinder Cyborg?
Alright, so why did Meyer choose to incorporate this story of Cinderella into her story? Why has this fairy tale remained popular for adaptations and retellings over the years?
So are we trying to answer all the question, or just focus on 4?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we just address at least 4. So
okay.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah, easy then. We'll just choose 4 for the simple ones.
Yeah.
Choose 4 of the what? Sorry.
Other questions? There's 6 questions are given to us.
Yep.
Addressed in our group discussion. So we choose to do 4 or more, or all of them.
Cool. Okay. Pulling them up.
All right. And we're trying to see which question should we discuss.
Gotcha. Yeah. Class.
You guys want to talk about the story Cinderella, how it incorporates to the cinder, or attitudes, values, ideals that are conveyed?
What assignment is it on to see the questions?
Cinder Hangout discussions.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, yeah.
So there's 5 questions. 5 questions. Or is the first bullet point 2 different questions?
I think, I don't know if it's the question of the bullet or the bullet points.
We'll just do it. At least if it's 30 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll just start with the first one and then see where we get as we go down, how long it's been.
Why did Meyer choose to incorporate the story of Cinderella into her story? Why has this fairy tale remained popular for adaptations and retellings over the years?
Yeah. To me, my idea is I think Meyer knew how famous and how well known Cinderella story is. So it's kind of interesting for the readers to be interested in the book, to read more about it. So we kind of get the idea of having Cinderella, the prince, the step family, the step mom, and all that. It kind of makes sense. It's like drawing pictures using this ideas of Cinderella.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty, like at first when I saw the cover of the book, I was like, oh, it's just like Cinderella story. But when I started reading it and it talked about like cyborgs and androids and stuff, I was a little bit more excited because it's like seemed like it's a different twist to the Cinderella story that isn't normal. It's more futuristic and sci-fi, and that's what I'm into. I like this stuff, so I feel like it was a good angle she took it in order to grab the reader's attention. That it wasn't just like another maybe girly type of story, but there's also like cool concepts and futuristic things that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just like her way to make it more entertaining and like on the story. Like at least when I was reading about it, it made me like it reminded me of like the new Star Wars movie. It kind of like made it all like sciencey and all different. It's kind of like the girl who doesn't know her place and everything. I think it's popular because people relate to it. Because it's like there's a lot of people who don't like their step parents, so it just kind of like resonates with a lot of people, and Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because at Disneyland they make a cartoon about it, and then there's movies. They make movies about Cinderella, and then it's like you guys said, it's kind of popular for everyone to know about the story of Cinderella, and that kind of twist that Jack was talking about. And it's funny because that question was like one of my guiding questions that I did for that assignment, previous assignment that we have. So it kind of like answer that question. So
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, just the humble story of Cinderella, like the humble beginnings that she had being a servant and then ended up being like a princess type of thing. I guess it just shows or resonates with a lot of people that you never really know what life will bring you, so you can like hope for the best in any situation.
yeah,
But yeah, cool. So what do we think are the audience and purpose of Cinder, how it was received, and why? So who do you think the audience is?
Who wants to go? I'll go. What do you think of the audience? I don't know. I think it was kind of for everyone. Probably more youth and like
Young adult type
young
of.
adult. Yeah, probably not so much full on adults because it's kind of a story about youth. I think. You guys remember how old she was?
Well, Prince Kai was 18, so I'd assume around 18.
Around 18. Um, yeah, so I'd assume like yeah, young adult, youngers. I think it was received well. Yeah, like it did pretty well. She wrote a bunch of sequels and stuff, so
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that it did pretty dang good. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's a way of everyone kind of knows the Cinderella story growing up just because it's like so popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if people ever really read Cinderella the book because everyone just kind of knows the movie, I feel like. But
yeah,
yeah, just probably what made it more relevant again. It's just changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think even her other books have a similar twist to it, and it kind of reminds me of like the Twilight series or whatever. Kind of gives people something to look forward to. Like, oh, there's a second book. Like this book kind of left us off with a cliffhanger where we don't really know what her fate is, but we want to know, and that's where she can add in the next sequels and get people excited. So it was received well in
yeah.
that way. Cool. So the social attitudes, values, or ideals conveyed and the challenge book. So I don't know. What do you think? Some social attitudes, values, ideals, and whatnot.
Me personally, thinking of as the self-esteem, like Cinder being a cyborg, being around humans, and and it kind of make her think about how crucial it is for her to be around, and then her living with the step family, and then kind of like relate to Cinderella. The step family kind of treated her like as a slave uh, figure, and kind of like put her down to her. Kind of like it's hard for her to find her self esteem, uh, finding her real confident, and then starting to doubting herself.
I like that what you mentioned too because a lot of her doubts came from her inadequacies or like her she was ashamed of her robot legs, and I feel like a lot of people have something that they might be ashamed of or shy about, like whether it's a I don't know, any deformities or something,
Yeah,
that's maybe looked upon as different. This way it wasn't. I feel like the original Cinderella story, she was always maybe just probably a cute girl, but she was a slave. In this one, she has other issues she's dealing with that could be relatable to people who have um, different challenges with physical, like their physical body type of thing. So I think that's pretty cool. So that kind of acceptance, or even overcoming those fears, or overcoming your physical limitations.
Yeah, I think societal attitudes, values, ideals. Um, yeah, just like fighting what people had. I think nobody really expected her to, like we find out that she's basically royalty. Um, she is royalty. And so that definitely challenged that ideal because before she was kind of looked down on and stuff. Um, kind of like just what both of you guys said. Yeah, like to challenge that and yeah.
I like
One,
the I like the part. Sorry, I like the part when she started falling in love with the Prince Kai, and then that's when she kind of like feel insecure about herself because you know how that she's a half robot, and then and he finds herself hiding because she felt insecure about being just a robot because
yeah,
she felt like she's in love with this bench, and she's thinking, oh, maybe she's not good enough for him, or she's kind of hide. She doesn't want to embarrass or something like that.
yeah, I think that's a good point. And one thing that came to my mind just was when, if we want to go like deeper into a meaning, the the glamour effect that the queen has on people, or the lunar people, like she kind of portrayed herself with this power that she was the most beautiful queen, and I feel like we could relate that, and she was able to control people, and we can relate that today with, like, I don't know, models or TV actresses who portray themselves as such beautiful people and everything, but they kind of control other people or make other people feel inadequate, or like, why am I not pretty as her? Or even that those people also have different intentions inside, or different struggles, or they might look pretty, it might be evil. There's a lot to it that could come from that glamour thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's good. How does Cinder challenge conventional literary forms and genres? Well, it challenges the genres thing just because, like, they took an old genre kind of and twisted it like quite a bit. They didn't just like write Cinderella. Like, if they hadn't told me that it was a twist on Cinderella, I probably wouldn't have known because it was so different. But if you saw the connection, then like it is there. Um, but like in that way, it challenges it, and then conventional literary forms. I'd say, yeah. Well, I think it's just the way that it story, probably the main way.
For sure.
What do you guys
uh,
think?
I think that, I don't know, the twist is probably the thing that is most obvious, where the normal Cinderella story, I don't even know if we know where she's located, but this one we can see that it's in Shanghai. So the culture is Chinese. So you go from Cinderella. I mean, she looks Caucasian, but I don't know if it says where she's from even. But this one's in China, so it's a Chinese culture mixed with a futuristic twist, and then you got aliens that can control people. So it's kind of a big twist from your normal princess type of book. So I think it challenges it that way. Like, how can you take a sci-fi and make it like princessy? How do you challenge those things? So I think she did a pretty good job from challenging the traditional ways of writing.
Now I'm trying to think about the question because I can't really understand what it means.
Which means like, wait, what was your first name again, dude?
Mine?
Yeah.
Pensiman.
That's money.
Yeah, they just call me Tutti.
You call you what?
Tutti.
Tutti.
Yeah, it just means like, how is it different than like most other genres? Like, how is it different than most other like fairy tale or like, yeah, basically it's just saying how is it different from other books?
Oh, um, what we talked about, I think. Oh yeah, I kind of like get the idea. The genre romance. Yeah, Cinderella, this romance genre, and then a robot being in love. I Sometimes when we think robot doesn't have a heart or doesn't have it's like being controlled. It doesn't have that feelings. It doesn't feel anything or have this love towards humans. So it kind of differs from other romance genre that to have a robot to love someone. It kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
So a character, we gotta choose a character. What does the name mean? Why do you think the author chose this name? In what ways is it suitable or unsuitable for the character? I don't know. I feel like the easiest to kind
It's just cinder.
of cinder. Yeah, exactly. My first thought is Cinder is half of the name Cinderella, and Cinder is also half human, half android. If that makes sense. So she's like kind of her name's incomplete, and her physical body's a little incomplete.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
I don't.
Never thought of that.
Yeah, it's a trippy thought that just came to my mind.
I think we could just set it up.
Yeah. Still hints to the actual story, but it's Cinder for short. Let me see. Well, she also added like I think Chinese names to the characters, or like her name's Lin Cinder. I don't know if she's referring to like Lin as a Chinese name. I don't know if it's a Chinese name, but maybe just to reference back to the Chinese culture and their setting um, of the story. I don't know.
I don't know if this is accurate. Search up Prince Kaito, the prince name. Kaito is a Japanese name, means to soar or fly.
Hmm. Maybe that's just from his. Since his father dies, he needs to kind of soar and become the emperor and do his things. He gotta kind of spread his wings a little bit um, to take over the kingdom, possibly.
Yeah, it relates to the story though.
Yeah. So I think both names are suitable for the characters.
Mm.
Cool. Move on. Just shares a statement that tells the novel's message about the particular theme. So I guess just like a claim or a thesis statement that we think the book is about. That's first.
Yeah, thesis statement. This is the fun part. No, but I was like writing the in the previous assignment. I wrote down a main message that I think the book was about is about discrimination. It can be like an illness, a plague, in a family, village, or country, or even here in the earth that would ruin the self-esteem of humanity. maybe it can show through the characters, like Cinder and them, the family. Can show through um what's the other one? Settings, because there's like this Eastern Commonwealth, a futuristic city where we have, and maybe the tone, the language that they use in the book, the characters' language.
So
That's what I think.
nice. Yeah, I think the author intended to apply different literary elements with a twist, like what you said about the Chinese culture and sometimes the limitations of being foreign and but foreign not even by place but being different because she's I assume Lynn Cinders of Chinese. Oh no, she's an alien, so I
Mm.
guess she is foreign to China, but also different in that she's part android and just the difficulties that come, but the from physical deficiencies or whatnot, but also emotional difficulties, especially in a social aspect or even in a love aspect, and being able to develop courage in a time of need to stand up to the queen and to stand up to Prince Kai when she had to like reveal that she's an android. Uh, but I think it just has a lot of relation to the readers in the message that not necessarily the underdog, but even with these difficulties and limitations, you can amount to great things and great potential. And that message coming across in this story is like a sci-fi fantasy type of thing. But I think that's the message that I take from this book, and just by the plot setting, characters, like you said, language, all kind of describe that in a different way than the actual Cinderella story.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah. We're still on the name of the character one, yeah.
No, we're on just sharing the thesis statement of like what we thought the book was about. So like the
Yeah.
main idea.
Yeah. Well, just the character one, I think it's fitting, and then yeah, the thesis statement. I think it's mainly about yeah, it's like the classic hero's tale of like they thought they were worth nothing, and then it turns out they're royalty, and everything's kind of dependent on them. So they go from being like a relatively obscure, like unimportant person to being like the most important person. And I think a lot of people connect with that because everybody's had feelings of like not feeling important. And you get inspired by books like this where like somebody has to rise to the occasion and kind of battle their perceptions of themselves and other people's perceptions of them. And yeah, it's like a very universal story that like a lot of people connect with. I'd say that would be like the main thing is just like yeah, battling your own and other people's perceptions of yourself for this story. Um, but yeah, how long have we been going for?
It's about 30 minutes, so we can uh, cut it at any time. But usually there's the analysis paper, right, of our
Yeah.
hangout. And last time was it Eric? Did we choose Eric?
Yeah, I think it was Eric.
Should we just do a Google Doc and we all do like half a page?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you set it up, like I don't know how to do invite. I don't know how to do those things. So like
I
if you
can,
invite me,
yeah, I can share the Google Doc and that way we'll just all do a section.
okay, yeah, that's easy. And then I guess if we can get the recording to like Roman and Eric, they can watch what we talked about, or they can like film themselves and turn it in. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they couldn't make it. I assume there's a way for them to get points if they try.
I'll just share the
It's cutting out.
URL. I'll share the URL and send it through the Google Docs, and maybe they can just get the URL from there and then watch
Okay,
if they wanna.
that sounds good.
Okay, sweet. We're done.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sections. So the section. What section are we talking about? The questions.
Yeah, how about this? I'll write what we talked about in the first two. Jack, you do the middle two. And then Penisamani, you do the last two.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, shoots. Yeah, I'll send out the Google Doc right now.
All right. Peace out.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
Bye, guys.